the ice cream man. I heard once that the average ice cream man makes close to 6 figures a year, and that was like 20 years ago. I'd be willing to bet with the cost of things nowadays, the ice cream man probably does clear 6 figures. And it's funny because I don't think I've ever seen an ice cream man that looked rich, right? Most of their vans look like hell, but they always do seem happy. And I think there's something to be said for that. Guys, today I watched a video of a YouTuber for the very first time, and I actually really liked what I saw. This YouTuber's channel is called Frank Talks Money. Frank shared a personal story, guys, where when he was 38 years old, he had nothing.
I was there at 38. Opened up my Roth IRA at 38, guys. And I'm 53 today. In 15 years, I've had a major shift financially. But it took me hard work, perseverance, commitment, and determination to get where I am today.
No money saved up, he had some bills, and life just wasn't quite going down the trajectory or path that he had anticipated and hoped for all his life. But at age 38, he changed, he turned a new leaf, started saving money, putting money into his Roth IRA, and 15 years later, he's 53 now, he's actually turned everything around, and he's on pace to retire quite wealthy. Here's the cool thing. When you retire wealthy, a lot of times you're able to retire a little early. So I wouldn't be surprised if old Frank retires in the next 5 or 6 years rather than in the next 12 or 13. Today he shared videos, because he does reaction videos, or at least this particular one was, and he was talking about people who are 30s, their late 30s, 40s, and even 50s, and they have nothing to their name. Some people equate saving money to magic.
Who are y'all people that be like, I'm just gonna quit my job, I don't have no money saved up, and I'ma just figure this shit out? How y'all be doing it? Because if I get called into a closed door meeting today, I'ma be in complete shambles.
They wonder how others can do it. Others wonder how their friends and neighbors can enjoy so many vacations and stuff, and it makes them jealous and they want to keep up with the Joneses.
So for real, can y'all put me up on game and let me know, like, what do y'all be doing that y'all be completely worry-free about not having no income at all?
What they don't know, or at least they claim they don't know, but I think they really do, is that probably half of the people that are out enjoying vacations and spending a lot of money lavishly, half of them are probably doing it on credit. But that means that there's a good deal of people that are actually doing it the right way. Maybe they save up, and instead of putting stuff on credit cards, maybe they use cash and debit cards. People do save up for vacations like that. Maybe they constantly spend less than they make, and they've gotten to the point where each year, whether they save up or not, there's money for vacations. But then there's people that struggle, and they don't realize that part of the reason they struggle is because they're never able to tell themselves no.
Stop acting rich. You don't have any stinking money. Act like a broke person. Why? It's easy. You're a broke person. You make 60 or 90 or 160 a year and you got nothing. Nothing. No money. Payments coming out your ears, out of control, strutting around acting like you're something. In Texas, they call that big hat, no cattle.
You know the difference between poor people now and poor people 20 or 30 years ago? Poor people 20 or 30 years ago were the type that if you said, hey, I want to go to the club this weekend, let's go out and do this, this, and this, they would say, hey, that sounds like a blast, but I can't. I'm totally broke, and I'm going to be broke until payday or until this time in the future. Now it's different though, isn't it, guys? Now, those same broke people will put it on a credit card. They'll take out a payday loan. They'll find family members and stuff to mooch off of. When in reality, they could probably start to get out of debt if they started acting broke instead of trying to fool people into believing they were successful and rich. So that's the first lesson we learned today. The key to quit being broke and to quit being poor is to start acting like you're broke and poor and quit acting like you're rich. How many people could actually get out of debt if they were willing to ditch the idea of vacations for a couple of years? If they would start using their debit card instead of their credit card? It's these little domino moves in the right direction that are needed in order to change your life. I think a lot of the problems that we have as people is it's really hard to discipline ourselves and do something that's free, like going for a walk every day, when they're looking for that dopamine rush that you get when you actually purchase something. 70% of the Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. I hear different numbers on that all the time, but what it equates to is more than half of us are struggling with money. The crazy thing is, some of those people that struggle with money are actually making 6 figures a year. What this tells me is that even those people that make good money and are living the life, a lot of them are living beyond their means as well. So again, when you're thinking about competing with the Joneses, just keep in mind, the Joneses might be making some really stupid mistakes. They're the last people you want to copy.
I don't want to be broke. I don't, one of my worst fears is to be old and broke.
This might describe you. One of the people on the video actually said she was moving her last $100 from savings over to her checking account so she could cover her cell phone bill. Now, there's some good things and bad things about that, in my opinion. The good news is she had $100 to move over. Some people don't. Another good thing is you're better off paying that bill on time, even if it makes you a little pinched financially, because you'd rather keep your credit in good standing just in case you ever do have to take out a loan. Not that I recommend it. About 18, 19 years ago, I had a credit card and it had like a $10,000 balance. And I had $0 on it. I had saved it specifically for emergency situations. This was back in 2008. And I had lost my house to foreclosure, but I still had this credit card that I had never spent any money on. All of a sudden, one day I pull out my credit card just to purchase something small on TV or online or something, pay a bill with my credit card, something. And all of a sudden my card declined. So I reach out to the bank to find out what was going on. And apparently a couple times a year they pull people's credit scores and they realize that something was off with my score compared to my income. I don't know how to explain it, but they were basically telling me because I hadn't used it, they decided to go ahead and shut it off. So when I absolutely needed my credit card, it wasn't there. And so your boy hasn't really had a credit card or anything like that in close to 20 years. Now, if you would have told me that as an 18-year-old, that, hey, as an adult, you're not even going to have a credit card and you're going to have moments where your credit sucks, I would have assumed doom and gloom thoughts. But me not being able to charge money on that credit card that day, I think that was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And I think a lot of us in this country would actually be getting a blessing in disguise if we found out that our credit cards were no longer good. Tell me if you agree or disagree with me down below. He had another couple. This one was really weird. 48-year-old couple.
But our plan is to move to Chile because it's way more like even.
You want to move to Chile?
48 years old with nothing. I don't get, folks. Like I said, 48 years old, no money, no savings, no retirement, and their plan is to move to Chile. Well, I can tell you one thing. If they don't get on their grind real soon, they're going to be broke in Chile. It doesn't matter if the cost of living is cheaper or more expensive. If you're bad with money and you have bad money habits, no matter where you're living, you're going to be broke.
Guys, their game plan was to move to Chile because Chile has such a lower standard of living, right? And American dollars stretch far there. So in one way, it sounds like a neat plan, right? But if you have to move yourself and move to a completely different country, that's probably not the best game plan. And if you suck with money in the US, you're probably going to suck with money wherever you go. One thing you can say about the US They probably have a healthcare system that's a lot better than Chile. And as you get older, you're probably going to need that healthcare system. So again, even if you're broke, I don't think moving to Chile is the answer. Let's listen to some of these comments. Some of them might describe your feelings, and I would like to know if you're brave enough to share, if you're where you want to be financially, or if you feel like you're behind, or if you feel like you're at zero and you have no idea on how to start. One of the good things that you can do is you can take a daily walk. When you're walking, your blood is flowing. Hopefully you're inhaling the fresh air and exhaling out the bad shit that you've been dealing with throughout the day. And if you're walking, you might be able to come up with a pretty good plan on how to get control of your finances. The advantage a walk has is if you can learn to enjoy it and do it regularly, then not only will it make you more healthy, but you've just come up with a hobby that doesn't cost anything. I tell people, not only do I love walking for my physical and mental health, but I also love walking as a hobby because it's free. Now, I don't know about you, but 99% of the hobbies out there cost money, and some even cost a lot. You probably could use a free hobby that doesn't cost anything if you're broke, okay? Raymond Kaiser says you have to look at what these people are blowing their money on. Entertainment, luxury, frivolities. I see it every day from people I work with. Imagine two people, they both work at the same job. One guy has every luxury, right? The nice new car, the nice apartment, the expensive girlfriend, right? A bunch of toys. He likes to go to every sporting event and every concert. At the end of the year, he gets an annual raise, but it all goes to his bills. He never has anything to his name. Meanwhile, his coworker has the same pay, gets the same raises, doesn't go on so many concerts, does a lot more things that cost less rather than more, and after 10 or 15 years, this person has hundreds of thousands of dollars saved up. What's the difference between the two? The difference between the two is delayed gratification. I feel better spending nothing if I'm broke. Most broke people feel better spending money. Do you see the difference? So again, most of us that have a little money to our name actually feel guilty spending money we don't really have to blow. People that are broke feel guilty not spending money. It's a real mental hiccup that's really hard to get by, but it's absolutely necessary. That's why I tell people, hobbies are fun. Get a good hobby like walking because it's free, but then make an even better hobby like collecting $20 bills. Could you imagine if your life really revolved around collecting $20 bills? You collect one or two a week, and after 2 or 3 years, you've got tens of thousands of dollars saved up. Is there a better hobby out there? I can't think of one. I don't care how bad you are with money, start collecting $20 bills, come back to me a year and a half, 2 years later, and thank me because you'll have 5 or 6 grand saved up. It happens quickly. Jessica Couture, Hugs and Kisses says, why do people still think there are quote-unquote secrets to saving money? It all stays the same. Stay debt-free, budget, and invest. If you don't like the idea of budgeting, you don't really want to put up a graph every day and figure out what's in the positive and what's in the negative, I don't blame you. Nobody wants to live a life like that. So here's an easy trick that some of my more successful friends have taught me since the beginning of time. Spend less than you make. It's that easy. If you get used to spending less than you make from your first job on, you'll probably retire a millionaire, because nothing can hold back a person that's smart with their money. When you lose your job, people that are broke get desperate and they start to lose relationships and they start to do stupid things. It's like compound interest in idiocy. But people that are smart with money, even when they lose a job, it gives them a little bit more breathing room. They're able to do things smarter. They're not addicted to shopping. But again, if you're a teenager or somebody in your early 20s, you can ignore my words, or you can say, well, he's not the only one talking like this. Everybody says you should try to be debt-free, Everybody says you should try to invest in yourself. Maybe if I do it in my 20s, I can actually retire in my 40s or 50s and never have to worry about money. Here's the sad thing. That's a true statement. Adam Duncan says, I don't use credit cards, only debit cards and cash. Adam, when you only use debit cards and cash, which are pretty much the same thing, it's almost impossible to go broke because your card, when you get to zero, will actually decline. And most people that use debit cards and cash end up having a lot of cash and a lot of money in their checking account. That's all you got to do to get rich. Stay away from losing money. Credit cards are losing money. These credit cards nowadays are scary. Guys, when I got my first ever credit card, it was an American Express Optima card. I was 18, and I think that bad boy had like 10% interest. Now I get cards that send me like, hey, congratulations, you've been chosen for Capital One. Here's your introductory rate of 29%. That seems like a joke. Yet people every day around the country are becoming Capital One credit card users. If you have to spend $30 to borrow $100, that is crazy. Even signing up for a credit card like that just sounds absolutely nuts. BCU, USAAUS, 4749 says, I didn't get serious until I was in my mid-50s. I hit rock bottom. Fast forward 10 years, I'm invested and I have $0 in debt. It's possible if you renew your financial mind. Sometimes women and guys, they'll have like a skanky couple years in their life where they're sleeping with everybody and they'll say, hey, I'm gonna become a renewed virgin. And they'll stop sleeping around for a couple of weeks, right? If you could do that with your money, that would be such an awesome accomplishment. The problem is, just like people that sleep around a lot, it's hard to get out of bad habits. But again, all you have to tell yourself is, I don't need a 5th pair of shoes. I don't need a 17th pair of jeans, right? A lot of times these things we buy, we look in our closet, we already own them. All you have to do is make a promise to yourself that you're going to start with baby steps. What's the first step, Jesse? Just start collecting $20 bills. Then what you want to do is take a look at all the bills you do have, find the smallest one. Jesse, I found a bill I have to pay for my JCPenney card. It's $28 a month. Let's pay that bad boy off first, and then once we pay that off, we'll go to the next lowest bill, and we'll pay that off, and slowly but surely, we'll start moving in the right direction. Not by giant leaps, but by baby steps. Here's the thing that's crazy. Baby steps, after a year or two, become giant leaps. But you got to trust the process. At Mary J 17222 says, it's going to get real dangerous out there. I literally went to Walmart and they told me to be careful buying too much food because they've seen people who get jumped in the parking lot for their food on their way to their car. Guys, I didn't expect to see that comment in the comment sections. But if that's true, that points to one thing. There's a lot of people out there that are really, really desperate. The best way you can help society is not to become one of those people. Same thing with homelessness. If you really want to know the absolute best thing you can do to help the homeless, don't become a homeless person. That's the best thing that everybody could do, because if everybody did that, we wouldn't have a problem with homelessness. With that being said, again, the most important thing that I've said today is actually about walking. If you walk, a lot of times your brain naturally starts to ponder about these questions. And if one of the problems you're having in life is getting control of your finances, then you need to be able to jump into a think tank and come up with solutions. So contemplate taking a walk with us. We do it every day here. Hit the thumbs up button. Come back again tomorrow. We'll walk again. I'll see you then.